Well, here we are. Today is August 21st. It's 7:30 a.m. The sun is shining, beaming through my window. The birds, they're just screaming. They're screaming, they're singing. They're doing little dances out there. Today's the day. After all these years, today is Silksong. It can't be. It can't be anything else other than a release date. It has to be a release date. If it's not a release date, actually, I'm not even gonna say it. I'm not even gonna say it. Oh. And there's another timer. Let's go. No way. Timer reveal. Let's do this, dude. I'm so excited. 4, 3, 2, 1. It's time. It's time. Ah, it's so beautiful as always. Ascend to the peak of a haunted kingdom. Oh man. Lethal acrobatic action. Hey, I remember that one. Ooh, animated cutscene reveal. A vast handcrafted world. Battle over 200 ferocious beasts. Vanquish over 40 legendary bosses. I can't wait to fight the guy. Restore a kingdom's hope. What the heck? Hollow Knight Silksong. Come on. September 4th! That's so soon! Let's go! Let's go! September 4th! Yes! 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 Well, I finally, let that all sink in. After running around my house, jumping up and down, climbing up the walls, running along the ceiling, jumping out the window, jumping back in, doing a couple little flips here and there, a couple dances. With that amazing Silksong reveal, I finally and suddenly remembered, oh yeah, there's an article talking about Silksong's development, and I wanted to read it. So we're gonna look at that now. So this is by Jason Schreier, and it's titled "Why Silksong Took 7 Years to Make." The highly anticipated indie game has been in production for so long that it's become an internet meme. Hi everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Game On about a very special game that we'll be playing quite soon. The wait is over. It's surreal to write, but it's true. Silksong will be out on September 4th. Let's go! After 6 years of near total silence from the developers and enough feverish anticipation to make it the most wishlisted game on Steam, the sequel to the indie hit Hollow Knight is releasing in 2 weeks. Team Cherry, the small team behind both games, announced the news Thursday in a trailer. Why did it take so long? Often such a protracted development cycles are caused by mismanagement and result in painful burnout among the staff. But speaking to me last week on a video call from their office, In Adelaide, Australia, Team Cherry co-founders Ari Gibson and William Pellin, the GOATs, of course, said that making Silksong has been nothing but a joyful process. "We've been having fun," Gibson said. "This whole thing is just a vehicle for our creativity anyway. It's nice to make things." The lengthy production wasn't the result of development challenges or obstacles, they said. They just needed all these years to ensure that Silksong was exactly the game they wanted to make. "It was never stuck or anything," Gibson said. "It was always progressing. It's just the case that we're a small team, and games take a lot of time. There wasn't any big controversial moment behind it." The Silksong saga started in 2017, when Team Cherry released Hollow Knight, an action platformer set in a vast world full of cartoon bugs. A Switch version, released the following year, added to the momentum. By the end of 2018, millions of fans were raving about its polished gameplay, distinct style, and impeccable vibes. Now that's a fact right there. As of today, the game has sold 15 million copies, Team Cherry told me, making it one of the most successful independent video games ever. Initially, Gibson and Pellin had planned to release an expansion pack revolving around Hornet, one of its key characters. But in February 2019, they announced that the expansion had grown too big and would instead become a full-fledged sequel titled Silksong. Hollow Knight had been massive, and their plan at the outset was to build a smaller world for Silksong. To ensure that the game felt just as deep, they'd implement an elaborate quest system that would offer the player reasons to backtrack and revisit old locations, in contrast to Hollow Knight, which had a single town full of shops and characters to meet. There would also be multiple towns, each serving as a hub for quests. Oh my gosh, that's such an exciting thing. I cannot wait to see what that's like. Even at that point, we were recognizing that it was going to become another giant thing to rival the scale of Hollow Knight, or probably exceed it, Gibson said. And then because of how we work, obviously the world ended up being just as big or bigger. And the quest system existed, and the multiple towns existed. Suddenly you end up 6-7 years later. It all came down to their development style, which may have been too much fun. Gibson and Pellin, who were joined by programmer Jack Vine, composer Chris Larkin, and a few contractors who helped with programming and testing, started off by designing the core gameplay for Hornet, the game's slick protagonist. From there, it was easy to implement and test out new ideas, even as the game grew bigger. Interesting. I mean, that's kind of what we think. Every time we talk about Silksong, we're always talking about scope creep. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense that if the town was, if they decided to make the map bigger, and they already had these other systems that were supposed to make exploring a smaller map feel bigger, then that would just make the game even bigger, like 2 times as big. "We're fortunate that we have a development method that is so enjoyable," Gibson said. "Not exactly sure how we stumbled into that. Everything comes together quickly. You can see results fast. Ideas turn into something that exists in the game almost immediately before your eyes, and that's very satisfying. And that allows you to go off on those tangents and meet weird characters because someone's offhandedly mentioned a weird character as an idea and the other person laughed. And that's enough." Oh. "You're always working on a new idea, new item, new area, new boss," Pellin said. "That's just so nice. It's for the sake of just completing the game that we're stopping. We could have kept it going." The downside of this mythology is that it could have lasted forever. "I remember at some point I just had to stop sketching," Gibson said, "because I went, everything I'm drawing here has to end up in the game. That's a cool idea. That's in. That's a cool idea. That's in. You realize, if I don't stop drawing, this is going to take 15 years to finish." During the development of Hollow Knight, Gibson and Pellin frequently posted game updates and talked to players at the end of 2019, At the end of 2019, Team Cherry posted one more update about Silksong, then went silent, to much fans' dismay. "We felt like continuing updates were just gonna sour people on the whole thing," Gibson said, "because all we could really say is, we're still working on it." They wanted to be particularly cautious about avoiding spoilers. Much of the thrill of Hollow Knight came from accidentally stumbling upon secret passageways or breaking down walls to find hidden bugs. Silksong has plenty of its own secrets that they didn't want to detail before the release. Plus, they thought Silksong would be out much sooner. "Instead of popping up and bugging people for the sake of it, it felt like our actual responsibility was just to work on the game," Pellin said. "Probably at the time we thought we'd go quiet for a year or two, then the game would come out. In 2020, as COVID disrupted most video game productions around the world, Adelaide was able to stave off the worst of the pandemic, going months without new cases, which allowed Gibson and Pellin to continue plugging along on Silksong. Seems a little odd knowing that the rest of the world had such a dramatic and isolating period, Gibson said. Here we were, going to cafes and having brunch. Oh my gosh, I just lost my place completely. Silksong briefly resurfaced in 2022 during an Xbox event, which promised that all of the games shown would be out within a year. Xbox doubled down on Twitter, saying that Hollow Knight sequel would be out before June 2023. At the time, they all thought it was true. We did genuinely believe that was the case, Pellin said. There was a period of 2 or 3 years when I thought it was going to come out within a year. But the game kept growing. Silksong has more elaborate bosses than Hollow Knight, more gameplay systems, and more interactivity. Gibson and Pellin wanted objects in the world to react to Horn's various tools, which required a ton of drawing and animation work. I think we're always underestimating the amount of time and effort it takes to achieve things, Gibson said. It's also that problem where, because we're having fun doing it, it's not like it's taking longer. This is awful. We really need to get past this phase. This is a very enjoyable space to be in. Let's perpetrate this with some new ideas. The longer development lasted, the more pressure Gibson and Pellin felt to ensure that everything was as fine-tuned as possible. They'd already spent 4 years on it. Why would they rush now? The more time they spent polishing some parts, the more time they need to apply it consistently across the rest. There's a level of finish that has been met through the entire game, Pellin said. All the way the systems interact, all the hidden work that pops up later on, it's multiplicative. Wow. It's multiplicative. As you add stuff, the process of tying it all back together just increases. Throughout development, Team Cherry remained tiny, which may have extended the production time, but also saved them from the slog of having to manage and delegate. We don't want to mess with the formula and then find out it's not fun, Gibson said. I used to manage teams in past lives. I don't really want to do that ever again. Staying small also meant ensuring that production practices commonplace at many game development studios. What is Jira? Gibson said when I asked if they used the task management application. Is it a software? Pellin said, adding that they briefly used Trello before their account was deactivated because they didn't use it enough. Perhaps the biggest reason Silksong took so long was that Team Cherry never had to worry about the one thing that keeps other independent developers awake at night: money. During the production of Hollow Knight, they'd stayed lean, sometimes living off leftover triangle sandwiches that their office neighbor would bring them after meetings. My dad would sometimes pop up and give me $20, Gibson said. I'd be like, oh, I'm having coffee today. Thanks to their first game's massive financial success, Gibson and Pellin no longer have to scrounge leftovers. For Pellin, who has 2 kids and a third on the way, that's provided an inestimable peace of mind. For Gibson, who said he spends much of his time at the office, it hasn't changed much. I live in a very basic 2-bedroom apartment, he said. Sometimes I think, you know what would be better? Is a 1-bedroom apartment, because then there's even less to maintain. The game has continued to generate revenue by reaching new players, perhaps in large part due to the Silksong buzz. When the studio announced Silksong in February 2019, Hollow Knight had sold 2.8 million copies. The game has sold another 12 million copies since then, allowing Team Cherry to keep working on the sequel indefinitely without having to worry about running out of funds. We're very lucky in that regard, Gibson said. I don't ever really think about it that much. Maybe that's the privilege of it. As the years went on, the hype kept building. A Reddit forum dedicated to the game filled up with the most nonsensical blabber and made-up tweets, which users called silk posts, a variation of the expletive. Meanwhile, chat sections for video game live streams and Nintendo Direct events were plagued with the same feral messages repeated over and over. Silksong when? Gibson and Pellin tuned it all out, rarely going online. They say they never read comments on YouTube or Reddit, although occasionally friends and family would send them some of the funniest ones. It's nice that people are passionate about the game, and that they've obviously formed their own strange or very exciting communities around it, Gibson said. Feels like we're going to ruin their fun by releasing the game, Pellin said. Once in a while, people would show up at Team Cherry's office, sometimes with their children, perhaps hoping for a Willy Wonka type experience. Inevitably, they were disappointed by what they found instead. It's a grubby room with cardboard boxes, Gibson said. Their walls remain the same dull avocado color they were when Team Cherry moved in more than a decade ago. They never even put up art. They've been too busy making the game. In early 2025, Gibson and Pellin began to see the finish line and started making plans to release the game in the fall. Players desperate for information devoured every scrap of news, like the announcement that it would be playable at a museum in September, hoping this might finally be the year. Both Nintendo Co. and Microsoft Corp's Xbox said during live events this year that SilkSong was planned for 2025, but fans were still cautious. They've been down this road before. That couldn't be more right, dude. Every single time, it's like, you really think this is the one. They're gonna have a release date this time. They're gonna tell us information this time. Something good is gonna happen this time. And then there's always the other part of you that's like, but last time it didn't happen, or the time before that, or the time before that. Sure, it makes perfect sense for it to happen right now, and then it doesn't happen. So yeah, that's so true. Meanwhile, Team Cherry kept working. The shape of the game has been finalized for a while, Pellin said. The last year or two has been all about the details, adding small encounters, polishing everything, and tying it all together. They're still working to finalize things to the last possible minute. As we spoke, with SilkSong a little more than 3 weeks out, I spotted programmer Jack Vine in the background, tweaking code for one of the game's console ports. Gibson and Pellin said they're happy that the game is finally coming out, and even happier that they will get to keep working on it, which they still find enjoyable even after 7 years. They haven't burned out or shown any desire to take a break. Instead, they're already making big plans to add extra content to SilkSong in the months and years to come? What? That is crazy. They finished the game, they're like, yeah, this is awesome. We're gonna give you guys the game. And they're like, but we could do more, so let's do it now. Oh, that's so exciting. I wonder what that means. I wonder what they could possibly do. I guess we won't know until we actually, play the game. But, oh man, that's awesome. I love that. Launching it is obviously quite exciting, Pellin said. What comes after for us is equally as exciting. The most interesting thing now is what we can add to it next, Gibson said. We got a plan. Admittedly, some of the plans for that stuff are kind of ambitious as well, but hopefully we can achieve some of it. Stay tuned for 2032 to see how it turns out. Wow, this is awesome. I loved reading this article. It's really interesting to see, that, it's kind of exactly as we thought. I mean, they always mention scope creep, they always have these new ideas. How they work is they're like, this would be super cool. Let's add it to the game. And they add it, and they add a little bit more. And then this, but this would be cool too. And they add that. And they're like, well, I don't want to, if we're adding this, we might as well add this. And they just add more and more and more and more and more, right? And it sounds like even without adding new things, right, they would polish something up to be like, this quest system, yeah, let's fix this up a little bit. Let's make it nice and smooth and easy to use, okay? But then they're like, well, if this is polished, then we gotta polish this up too. Otherwise it'll be, inconsistent. We gotta have everything be equally polished. So they polish this, fix up that, make this a little bit easier, make it a little smoother. Then they're just bam, 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 going all around the game, just adding different things, changing things, tweaking things everywhere. And they just want the game to be as perfect as it could be, and they have so fun working on it that they were just like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's keep going. And, they want to do right by the fans, right? They know that everyone wants this game, and they know that, everyone has such big expectations that they just want to make it, the best game it could be. And I think that's really honorable, even though that the way they went about going radio silent for so long, was really rough in a way. It's also good because, even now when we got the demo gameplay recently, we got this new trailer, it didn't really show off that many new things, And so if they've been working on the game tirelessly, never ending, even through the pandemic, which is crazy to see mentioned, then it's like, there must be so much left to discover. So many new and exciting things that I just can't even imagine. I have no idea what they could be. And that makes me more exciting than anything, because that feeling of exploring Hollow Knight for the first time, knowing nothing, and, coming across a place like the City of Tears and just being in absolute awe as the music swells and you're just swept away in this amazing, fantastical world. It is a one-of-a-kind experience, and I'm so happy that I can have that feeling replicated in SilkSong. SilkSong is a game. Well, yeah, SilkSong is a game, and it is a game that I cannot wait to play. And I don't even have to wait long at all. September 4th, 13 days, it's coming up so soon. And man, I couldn't be happier. I just couldn't. Today was an amazing day. All right, and just know, to any family members out here watching this, any friends, okay? If you don't hear from me for a long, long time after SilkSong releases on September 4th, you'll know why. Okay, let's just say that any responsibilities I have, any obligations, okay, they're gone. All right. I'm all in on SilkSong, and I might be getting a little leaner, I might be a little lighter at the end of it, in the couple months after SilkSong when I finally emerge, but yeah, so just so you know, all right, don't talk to me after September 4th, okay? You got that? Good. Awesome. So anyway, yeah, that's SilkSong. SilkSong's real. It's coming out September 4th. We know why. We know the story behind SilkSong's development, and I just couldn't be more excited. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. Good job. Congrats to all of you out there who've been waiting for SilkSong for so long. The time has finally come. And yeah, have a great day wherever you are. I've been Loganberry. Catch you later.
SilkSong is real.